Hello and welcome to another episode of the Simon and Friends podcast. I'm Simon Short. Joining me this week is Ben Parker. Ben, welcome in, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Once a month is not enough, so I can't wait till
I
off
know.
season. We do twice a month. But yeah, I'm doing great. Good to be back. Thank y'all everybody for listening tonight.
Man, I was thinking about this. I don't know if it was the Joe Flacco trade. I don't know if it was just general reaction. Probably Monday Night Football, like when Trevor Lawrence falls down two different times and still runs in for the game-winning touchdown. Back in the day, that would have been like we're hopping on the Zoom at 12:30 a.m. getting ready to talk about it. And yeah, now we're down to once a month and it's all drafts. So like we don't even do the NFL discourse the same. I mean, even last year we had the preview show. It's very different. So it's great to see your face, great to hear your sultry voice on that new microphone. Thank you
Yeah.
for being here. Thank you all for being here. If you want to hear me and Ben nerd out over week to week, day to day NFL stuff, Box Score Network YouTube channel. Let me show you that real quick. We just did a reaction video to the Tyson Campbell and Greg Newsome trade. Yes, that's right. It happened an hour before we started recording this podcast. So obviously, we spent 45 minutes to do that and are recording this podcast very late. So head over to the Box Score Network YouTube channel, subscribe to that channel, watch that video, like, comment with your thoughts. I'm going to get ripped probably by probably actually nobody, but apparently Tyson Campbell's just been a lot worse than I thought. Ben was on it though. He said, down year so far for Campbell. But check that video out. Check out what we do on Box Score Network. Just a reminder, we have waiver wire pickup recommendations every Tuesday morning from Peyton and Parker on from Two Peas on a Pod. They put that segment of their show on the Box Score Network YouTube. So check that out as well for your fantasy help. Um, we're back in here with Ben. Check out all the pods YouTube. Go to Ben's YouTube channel. Check out all the cool shows they got going on there. But Ben, it's time to talk NFL draft, and we're doing our monthly check-in, just introducing the listeners and viewers here. Hopefully you're here on YouTube. If you are, welcome, enjoy, subscribe, comment, like, all that. If you're an audio listener, as always, thank you for being here. Introducing you guys, just starting to get you familiar. I'm seeing the Tankathon screenshots. I'm seeing, teams talking about trading their quarterback and getting new. I'm seeing all of you that didn't care about offensive linemen from February to June care about offensive linemen again. If you do, go to our previous video where the offensive linemen were introduced. But we're here to talk about what our friend Austin Freed called the 7-on-7 guys, the running backs, wide receivers, the tight ends. Just an introduction. We have about 15, 16 names here we might mention quickly, but six guys we're going to deep dive on, an additional three or four that we have a little bit, maybe a medium dive on, and then just some names, just so you guys kind of get used to, hey, who are some of these top receivers? And what are maybe their styles, right? Because that's where it's really interesting to talk about these receivers. Stylistically, what the fit is going to be. I don't think there's one guy that's so much better than everybody else that's like we're gunning for this one guy. But like stylistically, what's going to fit? What does your team need? What kind of profile are you looking for? But those are the guys we're going to hit tonight, Ben. Running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. How do you feel about the strength of this group kind of overall, especially in this like borderline first round for the draft this year? Are you feeling like this is a good first round for if you need this type of player, or is this something where you maybe want to look later in the draft?
Yeah, you touched on it about 60 seconds ago. I thought you hit it perfectly. There's a lot of guys here I like. I mean, a lot. We won't even touch them all tonight. There's like 20 guys I like, but in the second round. There's not as many that I'm excited about first round yet. There's a couple, and there's a couple more. It's not like the first round to me is just loaded with guys you gotta have out of this group. I really like these guys, but boy, some of those gotta have it guys for me in the first round, that top 20 kind of delicious stuff is offensive line, defensive line. It's in some of those other spots here. So we'll see. Some of these guys are gonna go to first round, right? But some of them haven't popped yet in a way that just makes me say I gotta have that in the first round, you know?
Yeah, when you look at the rookie receivers now, like especially if we're looking at receivers,
Yeah.
we like guys like
Yeah.
Torrey Horton, like Iomanor. Those guys went mid round, day three, right? And those guys are
It
popping
did.
off. It more and more, everyone talks about like the first round of receiver is better and better every single year, and it is generally, but also just like receivers just better and better. I think we just know how to deploy those guys and use the different skill sets better
Yeah.
than we ever have. So
Yeah.
you can
Agreed.
get really good value and really good play because you're looking for the right guy to do the right thing. And sometimes those guys get pushed down in drafts. Iomanor, the drops, and then Horton, like a little bit smaller, but a deep threat. Like sometimes those guys get pushed down and you can find that. So it'll be interesting to take this group that we talked about tonight and in 3 months kind of compare it to when we get to more of the like later day two into day three guys and really see where we can find the value. So we'll get into all that. As Ben mentioned, off season. Ben will start coming on twice a month, maybe even more. We'll do stuff on the Box Score Network YouTube for the draft. We'll really deep dive, but this is just kind of like surface level. If this is the first time you've been here, Ben is a huge college football fan, really knows what's going on. I watch zero college football. I just hop on and watch the film. I think a lot of people probably hate people like me that do that, but whatever. So we just give two different perspectives, two different
Right.
personalities when we're doing this.
Yeah.
And I think together, again, this is a big thing of what I try to do on the podcast. Like, how does my brain work? How does someone's brain work? And we like try and
Mhm.
talk through what's going on here. So, without further ado, 6 minutes in, let's get to it. The number one consensus wide receiver prospect right now in the 2026 draft, probably the highest guy that's going to get drafted of this whole position group, is Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. So Jordan Tyson is a senior wide receiver from Arizona State via Colorado. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. He was a three-star recruit out of Allen, Texas, where he attended Allen High School. He attended Colorado for 1 year before transferring to ASU as a sophomore. After missing most of his first season with the Sun Devils due to an injury, Tyson established himself as a near consensus wide receiver one for the 2026 class, head into his senior year in 2025. Now, last year, he also ended the season short in December with a broken collarbone before that playoff run. But Jordan Tyson is considered the number one receiver and overall probably consensus number one of these running backs, wide receivers, tight ends in this year's draft. Ben, give me your thoughts on Jordan Tyson.
And by the way, for those of you in the audience and to Simon as well, I've switched over to having to read notes a few months ago. I used not to do that. I could just run off the cuff. It's not that I'm not that mentally sharp because I'm not that mentally sharp, but the real reason is I'm just covering so many darn guys. I can't remember all this stuff in my head. I'm not Todd freaking McShay who can remember all this stuff off the top of his head.
Psycho.
I study these guys. I think we've covered 70 guys so far this year. I can't remember all this. So I apologize for reading some of these notes. It's just the only way to really give you an accurate description. So here we go. Jordan Tyson. Reliable, extremely reliable. You can count on this guy any time of down and distance, game, score, whatever. This guy, you can count on getting the ball to this guy. Productive, technical. He might be the most technical guy of all the people I've ever watched. And matter of fact, not ever, but this year, I think he seems to be the guy that's worked on his game the most. And I just really love the technical side. Good routes, good hands. Not very tall, but not short either. The reason I say that is I've even questioned that height that we're seeing most commonly, and that's not unusual, right? He seems a little on the short side when I look at him out there with the other guys that he's going up against.
Mm,
It does not seem to be a problem. Just
right.
I, to me, he's not a tall receiver. Okay, so he's not on the short side, but not tall. Good speed, very good speed, but not elite. When you're talking straight line, deep bomb stuff, I don't see him consistently ripping people at big strikes downfield and then just running away from defensive backs. He's got very good speed, all he needs. I'm not necessarily counting on him consistently taking the top off the defense, but that's not necessarily the way his game needs to work. Seems to love working horizontally and in tight areas. Oh my gosh. You talk about a guy, and I'm not just talking about these short little crossing routes, which is fine. We got guys that can do that. Man, I'm talking about goal line. He seems to love working in a crowd. Um, it, Tight man, tight zone, you name it. He seems to just be at home working in all these little phone booth situations, cut in, out, up, down, perfectly at ease, working through traffic. That is his game, and he is beautiful at it. He reminds me really, I wouldn't say he runs a route tree, although he's perfectly capable. I think he's beyond that. He reminds me a little bit of Travis Kelce, because Kelsey doesn't run very much of a route tree. Kelsey kind of runs this ice skating kind of routes where he just kind of fluidly moves around the linebacker, moves around whoever's guarding him, moves around the zone. Tyson reminds me of that. He really does that fluidity. Not that he's so smooth, but his routes that he runs, they're not precise routes. They're more like he's thinking his way through the defense. And I'm just really impressed with that. It's almost like he's beyond, it's almost like he's too good to run routes. He's working through the defense, which is kind of what you need, right? So I love that. That's beautiful. He can change directions easily. Boy, you talk about faking the guy in and then cutting out, or faking out and cutting in. Um, Sometimes he gets behind a guy like a basketball game in the end zone, and the guy doesn't know where he's at. Tyson's here running back and forth across the back of the end zone. It's really beautiful. I love that, man. Um, just a couple more things here. Seems like the guy who has worked the most on his game. I already said that. Good in traffic, athletic, loves to work the corner of the end zone. Um, Tracking skills. Boy, he tracks the ball well. And I mentioned he's not a tall guy, but I think he's got a good vertical jump. I don't think it's the best. I've got a guy on my head later who's got this insane vertical jump. We'll get to him later, but he's got a very good vertical jump, which basically makes him a little taller than he would appear to be physically. So I like his vertical jump, his ability to go up and get the ball and take it from other people. I don't know that this guy's going to dominate at the NFL level. I don't know that necessarily I'm looking at all pro type stuff here, but this guy's going to produce for a long time at a fairly high level, and to me, probably make several Pro Bowls. I'm really into this guy, and I'll talk more about where in the draft I would take him. But that's my notes on him.
I had a lot of the same stuff. So that Travis Kelce point I wrote here, he can find and sit in space, also uses space well between defenders to make catches and create yak. He finds the leverage of the defense and where he has
Yeah,
leverage. And one of the highlights that I
yeah.
have in here, I'll go over. He does that perfectly. Just a smooth route runner. I did note this. So I watched two of his games. Right, I watched Mississippi State from this year, and then the Utah game from last year. And it felt like he had more snap last year, which is why I was double checking on the injury stuff. I know again the collarbone, so like
Hmm.
I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or just if he came to the Utah game differently than he came to the Mississippi State game this year. Maybe that's it.
Right.
But smooth route runner. He can do the whole hard snap thing and break out of the route at the top of the route when he needs to, or yeah, he could just play the leverage game. Can pluck the ball out of his catch radius. There's multiple instances of that. Very good releases. Utah tried to press him in that game last year, and they got nothing out of it. Some strength and wiggle to his game after the catch as well. He can catch the ball and get upfield and make a guy miss.
Yeah.
Somewhat willing blocker. I'm gonna work in some blocking talk. He will do it when the play is specifically designed to that side, but or calls for him to
Right.
like motion in towards the line of scrimmage. But he's not gonna go out of his way to make a block. And he does move around the formation. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. His skill set certainly fits that. So let's
Yes.
let's get
Yep.
into some of those clips that I showed earlier while I was talking. So this play here is one of those examples of really good leverage. He works his way up from the slot, and he is working up the seam. He gives a little wiggle at the top of the route just to create just enough space. And then once he catches the ball, he's even able to maneuver his body just a little bit to get that safety out of his way. Boom, cuts upfield up into the middle for the touchdown. Number two play here. Coverage is not as tight on this one, but this is where he's doing that slow. He's just building that guy into the middle of the field before he breaks out. He knows he has all this space here.
Yeah.
It's just a
He
light little
does.
push into the middle of the field, and then he gets out of it and gets a wide open catch up the sideline for a really big gain. Two really of those sharp route running techniques here on this one. So he's going to run a dig route here from the bottom of the screen, and three little steps throughout this route gives him the room he needs to do this. So he has a first good release, good initial release to get a little bit of room. And then right there, you can see where that corner loses a step. Tyson just gives him a little step there to create a little room. And then one more break off as he gets into that dig. Now he has all this space here. And he's going to get that nice catch over the middle. Again, yak. He gets a little bit of room there. That's nice. And then on this next play, he is doing from the slot, he's just doing an out route. But just again, nice little setup at the top of the route. So he can snap these routes when he wants to, but he doesn't have to do it all the time.
Right.
And that's something big that like Justin Jefferson can do where and he's talked about this and people have used Jefferson on Twitter for this stuff where it's like you don't have to do the foot fire every time. You don't have to do the big da 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 every single
Right.
time. It's nice when you can because if you're being pressed, you got to create room. But man, when you don't need to, just like go take that space and go get on that corner's toes and make a play happen. Here is a nice little yak. He's got a little wide receiver screen here. We're gonna snap the ball. He's on the left side. He's gonna catch it. Boom. He's got two blockers, but defender immediately there spins away from that. Arm tackle. Arm tackle falls forward. That's a nice little gain. And then here's one good block. He motions into the line of scrimmage, and boom, he just gets that defender right out of the way for that long touchdown run. Again, maybe not a touchdown. He can block. He can block, and he will do it. There's a couple guys in this class like that where it's like kind of the high IQ moments, like gotta have it. And that's how I felt about a lot of these catches too. Just like he's a guy you can just get the ball to. You know he's going to get open when you need him to. You can get him the ball and just kind of let him work. And that's what you're looking in for with a highly drafted receiver. So again, I actually just shared a tweet with you about this. I forget who it was. One of the PFF guys. Was it Ladard? Let's see. Let me get into our Slack here. Um, yeah, Ladard. The top five receiving yards players in the NFL right now: Puka Nacua, JSN, Justin Jefferson, and Emeka Buka, Amon-Ra St. Brown. None of them are the biggest. None of them are the fastest. None of them are the most typical like T.O., Randy Moss, Julio Jones, anyone like that. They're just smart, tough guys that work into space well, can create leverage, create yards after catch, and have reliable hands. And like that, Jordan Tyson fits that mold. So there's a lot of good stuff there from Jordan Tyson. Um, we're kind of close to halfway through the season so far, but I usually like to ask you essentially, what are you looking for this year? What have you been looking for? What do you look for the rest of the way for Tyson and his draft stock, and where do you think he can ultimately end up being?
I think Tyson's pretty much locked in. Honestly, I just don't unless he gets hurt and it goes down. I just don't think he's going to do too much to change his stock. I think people know what he can do. I think he showed it last year. I think he's held up and showed it this year. It's not unusual to see guys' numbers drop in their final season because defenses are giving them so much attention. I feel like in the two games I've seen him this year, I feel like he's held up pretty well. So I really like him. The two things that you mentioned that I didn't, that were in my head, the blocking, yes. You mentioned there's another guy like this, but we might not talk about tonight. But it feels like Tyson is willing to block, but it feels like Tyson's getting better blocks from his teammates
Hmm.
than he is giving to them, right? So when they're blocking for him on screens, he's all about it. But when he's doing the blocking, he's putting in some effort. But it's
And that's wide receiver one stuff, it's what you'd expect. But I will always, when we get here, I think every single one of these guys has either a note or a clip included of a blocking effort. And
right.
I will highlight the guys that can do it. I will highlight the guys that are forced to do it. And I will talk about the guys that don't want to do it. We'll get there.
And a couple more things just real quick on Tyson here. I did not mention you did how versatile he is. Inside, outside. You can play this guy anywhere. He
Mhm.
can legit play outside. Don't let my little comment about his height keep you from playing this
Oh
guy
yeah.
outside.
Mm-mm.
He's an outside guy, but he's well versed at being able to go inside too if you want him to. This is an outside guy. At the NFL level, he will very much produce there. And the speed thing, don't get me wrong there too. While he's not the fastest, he can burn you deep if you're not paying attention. So no problem there either. He's not coming up short there either. At the moment, I don't have him as a top 15 pick. I know some people do, and that's fine.
Hmm.
That's totally
Hmm.
fine. It's just when I've been looking around at what else is available in this draft, not only in the receiver group, but in some of the other groups, I've got some more desires. I'm coveting other players in that top 15. And some of these wide receivers to me are clustered fairly well. And I'm not going to be heartbroken if I don't get Tyson because there's some guys I like in the second round too.
Yep.
I try not to pull too much, right? I want to get the guy I'm after, but Tyson's not the guy I got my heart set on necessarily. I got some defensive linemen, some offensive linemen. I'm like, dang it, I want one of those guys. So that's where I'm at. First round, yes. Top 15, no at the moment for me.
Okay. All right, let's get to our number two guy here, Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. He's a true junior at 6'3", 195 pounds listed. He's a five-star recruit out of high school. 247 had him as their third ranked receiver, sixth ranked player in Florida, 22nd ranked player in the country in 2023. His third and final year of high school was at IMG Academy, but he's from Chicago where he attended Marist High School. Um, Carnell Tate, outside receiver at Ohio State. Ben, as we see a block, what are some of your thoughts there on Carnell Tate?
Here it goes. Carnell Tate. I really love Carnell Tate, by the way.
Hmm.
Again, probably not top 15, but I think top 20. I'm interested in him. Okay. Uh, love the speed. He's not a burner per se, but for his size, he's got very
Hmm.
good speed. He can cross the field deep. He can beat you either way. All right, this guy can flat out beat you either way. He's very dangerous. So again, it's not. I'm not suggesting he can just run away from defensive backs, but this guy can beat you deep and he can beat you across the field. So I love that. I love the separation. He gets good separation a lot, man. This guy is frequently just wide open.
Hmm.
So I love the separation. Fast after the catch too. Once he gets the ball, he's not slowing down. He seems to be able to transition very quickly into converting this into a lot of yards. So I like that. He seems to love zones and crave space. I mentioned with Tyson how much, and this is based on 24 tape. I'm going to make a little
Hmm.
25 amendment here in a second, but I mentioned how much Tyson loves crowds and traffic, and he's the city boy. Tate's the country boy. He loves all that space. I mean, you talk about a guy who just craves that space. He seems to be able to find it. He
Hmm.
seems magnetized to it, and once he's got it, he's almost like he's untouchable at that point. He really seems to love space. He's an absolute zone killer to me. You talk about a guy that would just eat up, tear up, kill zones. When I saw him at 24 and I watched a lot of tape on him, that's what he was really tearing up. Saw a lot of work over the middle and underneath in 24 because that's what they needed him to do. A lot of that. In 24, I didn't see a lot of physicality or dominance like a couple of other guys we're going to talk about. Again, that's relative. Okay.
Hmm.
Some other guys we got are physical. I didn't see as much of that in 24 as I would have expected from an Ohio State receiver. But again, so much of that is based on the fact that Ohio State has so many tools and they got this Jeremiah Smith kid taking the top off the defense. There is space to work and Tate is going to work underneath, right? So that's a big deal there. This is the best West Coast guy too. You talk about a guy that runs clean square routes. He's not an ice
Hmm.
skater doing crap.
Uh-huh.
He's got crisp routes. Yes, it's square, vert, in, out. He's got every
Go
part of the tree.
dig. Yeah.
Yes.
Out.
So,
That's it.
West Coast guy would be a perfect fit. He can fit any offense, but you talk about the guy that would fit West Coast style. This is the guy. The 125 amendment I will add to it is I saw that he was working even better at being physical and at beating people deep. I've
Yep.
seen that more than once here in 2025. They're using him more like that. So that's another element to his game. And conversely, Jeremiah Smith, who we won't talk about, is working more over the middle this year than he did last year. So they kind of switching it up, probably based on what
Okay.
defenses are doing. But
Hmm.
you do see that Carnell Tate can have that element too. He's not just the clean route runner. This is a legit guy who can beat you deep and be physical. But boy, a lot of his stuff is zone killer space over the middle type stuff that he's got to. So I really like Carnell Tate.
I wonder if that, and again, I'm not the college football guy, so I obviously know just because he's who he is, Jeremiah Smith. I know what's going on there, and I wonder if that's a little bit like his, freshman year last year. They're like, let's just let him be him. Let's not put too much on his plate right now. And then now he's like, okay, you are the number one guy. We know that, so let's just go
Right.
ahead and get to it. All right, my stuff on Cardinal Tate. Yeah, so it's funny. I've watched 2025 tape on him. So
Hmm.
I'm seeing the things that you're seeing in 2025. But
Right.
I didn't know any of that 2024 stuff. So I like that. That's interesting because I like this. I like Carnell Tate, man. Good long speed, long strider.
Yes.
Has that good initial speed and he maintains it the whole way. Not like a 4.2 burner, but probably like
Right.
4.3. But he's gonna run that all the way down.
Hmm.
Um, not hasn't wasn't asked to run many routes so far. The different routes, mostly digs, mostly goes. Uh, blocks like an MFer. I love that. He's not putting everybody in the ground, but
Right.
he is facing the fan like every single play, and he's looking for it. He's played a bit in the slot over time at Ohio State, but he is mostly an outside guy. So just a couple plays here on tape, because again, it's not varied right now for 2025, but eventually I'll go watch some of that 2024 stuff. So
Yeah.
here on this first play, um, he gets a nice release right there at the bottom to freeze that corner, and then it's just a race. He beats him to the inside. Again, what I like about these receivers though is they're looking for leverage. So he's working to the inside initially, to get that corner to follow him, but he knows that ball's going to the outside. So then he starts to drift back to the outside.
Yeah.
And this is where you're talking about physicality at the catch point. 50-50 ball goes up and gets it, but comes down 3-4 yards short of the end zone. But he lets his momentum carry him into the end zone along with that defender. Here on this play, he's lined up at the bottom of the screen outside, straightforward run, like I'm saying, runs right up to that cornerback's feet, runs right up on him, gets that cornerback to bite just a little bit, sets him up just a bit at the top of the route. Boom, hard ramp down, gets outside. Now, this play, this quarterback, the first time quarterback for Ohio State, this was, I think, the first game against Texas. It's not a great throw. Tate works back to the ball, again, up the sideline, goes up and gets it outside of his catch radius, comes down. Love to see how he works himself to the outside and how he works back to the ball and makes that hard catch. And then here's just one of the blocks. He's there at the top. It's going to be a screen to number one here on the right side. Boom. He just takes that safety out of the play. It looks for him. He squares up and he takes that hit. Um, and again, this is a lot of what you're saying is happening in 2025. So the fact that he
Yeah.
can be varied is good. And just like, man, at this point, Ohio State receivers just like lock it in. And even if you're not seeing the like quote unquote dominant traits like we've been talking about, these guys are just coached the right way. There's enough of the natural skill here. I see the 6'3", right? I could see that. You mentioned with Tyson, like he doesn't seem every bit of that 6'2" that he's listed at. I could see the
Right.
6'3" here. I could see the speed.
Yes.
Um, highly ranked. There's just a lot to like here. I think this is a nice player, knowing that his game has been a little bit varied in the past. I'm interested to go back and watch that and see how it looks. Um, when you hear those things, again, it's mostly just agreeing with what you've said, but when you hear those things, when you look ahead to the rest of the season and then through the draft process, where do you have Tate? What do you want to see him do? What do you think he can do for his draft stock?
I really like Tyson, but I love Carnell Tate. Now, again, to put that in perspective, I don't love these guys as much as I love the 2027 crop of receivers that's
Right.
coming.
Yeah.
Those are some real animals right there. Okay. I mean, those are some sick dudes. Okay. But these are really good receivers. I really like these guys. I would draft both of them in the first round without even thinking twice about it. They don't really, for me, need. I thought that based on 24 tape. All I needed to see in both of them, Tate and Tyson in 25, was just, hey, did you get a little better and do you still hold up statistically? And they both do. I mean, they're both doing fine. I don't even care if there's a little bit of a statistical drop off. I expect that actually. So for me, they've blocked it in. I like Carnell Tate a little bit better than Tyson myself. A lot of that
Okay.
is that I'm a bit of a sucker for size, right? If I
Hmm.
see the size, it's still a man's game, right? We're
Hmm.
looking for bigger bodies if we can get them. So if all other things are fairly equal, the talent, the speed, there's no obvious advantage to either guy, I'm going to take the bigger guy. But that's really the only thing. I mean, you can't go wrong. I don't think you can go wrong with either of these two guys. So for me, Carnell Tate, you know, I expect him to go top 20, 25. I think if he falls past that, I would be very surprised, and that's where I would take him to. I really like this guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a note to make sure I look at that 2024 tape soon because if he is doing those things, because when I look at these guys from what I've watched so far, it's like Tate is a classic Z, and like that's great, but that's a very
Yeah,
specific role. Whereas Tyson
right.
can do a little bit more of everything.
Yes, he
So
can.
knowing that Tate has done those things is good, but if his best fit is gonna be Z, then that's what's gonna maybe push him a little bit. Um, It'll be interesting, but I like that because I like that maybe that like 100th percentile outcome for both of them. I could see where you're at with that in terms of Tate a little bit ahead of Tyson. Um, and yeah, between the two games of Tyson that I watched, like I liked what I saw last year a little bit more than this year. Now you said it, like
Right.
production drop off happens. Um, Arizona State overall has been a little wonkier than people thought, so maybe there's just something weird in the air going on there. Maybe they just missed Scadaboo, who knows? Um,
Yeah, and
but
I'll
yeah,
even
the
add to
two,
that.
yeah.
Just on that note, Tetaroa McMillan is a great example of that because his past 2 years, production-wise, wasn't great. That's because defenses were all
Hmm.
over him. They were keying
Hmm.
on him, and it was slowing down his production. But that's because they saw, I think, in his late freshman or early sophomore year, I get those mixed up. They saw real quick how dominant this guy could be.
Yep.
So they were smothering him. That pulled down his stats. I kind of expect it, to be honest.
We'll get to this at some point. Maybe tell me if we get to the guy that this could be. I was going to ask you who's the guy that if Jordan Tyson is Tyrone McMillan, where it's just like this guy's been the consensus number one
Right.
this whole time. When we all get a little squirrely in March and like reports start
Right.
leaking about things, or people are like, look at the way he tied his shoe in this game. I don't like what I'm seeing here. Who's
Right.
the guy that who's the Matthew Golden who's going to sneak up on our wide receiver one in this
Yeah.
class? If there's a guy in here you think it is now, if you already think Tate is a little bit higher, then maybe that. But that's what I was going to ask you. Um,
It's not Tate. There is a guy coming that I'll mention
okay.
who might sneak up. I say sneak up, but Tate's not sneaking. I don't think Tate's sneaking up on anybody. I think he's already, and I'm not talking about mocks. I just think, and when a lot of people will look at him come draft time, he's going to be first round material, is kind of the way I
Yeah,
already look at him.
yeah. I wonder if we have the same guy. That would be fun. All right, let's get to our number three guy here. Mekhi Lemon, USC. Stands at 5'11", 195 pounds. True junior in his second season as a mostly full-time player for the Trojans from Los Alamitos, California. Lemon attended Mirada High School as a freshman before finishing his high school career at Los Alamitos. 247 had Lemon as a four-star recruit, the number 9 overall wide receiver, number 6 overall player in the state, and 50th ranked overall player in 2023. Ben, Lemon at a USC, how do you feel?
Yeah, here we go. Mekhi Lemon. This is the guy right here that I think may sneak up on some people. Okay. When I studied him, and my opinion on him hasn't changed so much because I already know what he can do.
Hmm.
It's just the more I've thought about how you can use what he can do,
Yes.
the more appealing I get. Because again, he's 5'11", and in my mind, that's a little bit of a knock against him. It's not a knock against what production he could be at the NFL level. It's, well, how dominant can he be at the NFL level, right? How ceiling. This is the guy for me that may sneak up on some people. I know he's already on some people's radars, but he may continue to pull on up here. I had him kind of as a second, third round guy. I'm way past that now. I'm a lot
Hmm.
higher on that. So here we go. Number one thing, safety valve. Goodness gracious.
Yes.
You talk about a quarterback's best friend. This you can always get this guy the ball. I don't care
Hmm.
what down or
Hmm.
distance. This guy, you can get this guy the football. Usually it's the colleges don't use the tight ends anywhere near as effectively as NFL players do because they don't have to. They've got plenty of space. The hash marks are different. They've got 50-year-old offensive geniuses going up against 20-year-old defensive backs, right? It's not hard to fool these guys, It's not because they're dumb, it's just they're not experienced, man. They just don't have the time. So you got all these wide receivers running around everywhere. There's always somebody open. Who needs a tight end, right? In college. You get the NFL, use this tight end as your safety valve, your quarterback's best friend. Mekhi Lemon, who's nothing like a tight end, will be the quarterback's best friend. And that's got a lot of value just right there. But he can do more than that. The Trojans get him the ball in space a lot. Boy, you see tunnel screens. Jet sweeps on occasion. You'll see, you'll see just straight up screens. You'll see
Hmm.
every chance they get to get him the ball in space, they're doing it. Not only is he quarterback's best friend, they're looking to get him the ball in space, which
Yep.
tells you a lot right there. He's his own killer too. Goodness gracious, do not let this guy. He will find every.
Hmm.
I'm convinced this guy sees five holes in the zone and just picks the one he likes the best. But you talk about being able to settle. Nobody's better at settling into a hole than him. Some guys are better at moving through. This guy just knows where to settle in. Tyson and Tate move through zones basically. They're not usually sitting too much, which is good. But Lemon will sit. He knows
Hmm.
once he gets the ball,
Hmm.
he can take off with it. So he will sit in zones. I really love that. Lots of work in the seam, surprisingly. Again, I mentioned that
Yep.
that's a tight end feature, right? You don't usually see these guys do it too much. He can work on the seam. Very good chunk plays.
Yep.
Lots of chunk plays. Now I didn't see as many home run balls in 24. I think I've seen a little bit more of that 25, which is good. I think I've seen a little bit more of that bursty type stuff, the bigger plays. But in 24, it was just, dang it, he just went off for 30 yards, 35 yards, 40
Hmm.
yards. Now, he didn't run away from the secondary and catch it for 50 and 60 yards, but man, it's like he got the ball in space right behind the linebacker and they didn't touch him and he took off and grabbed 30, 40 yards is what I saw a lot of in 24. And it's felt like, I've watched him a couple of times. It felt like he's a little more big playish in 25. Where am I? I didn't see the elite breakaway speed. I almost feel like he's faster in 25 based on what I've seen. But again, I
Okay.
didn't break down as much 25 tape. He runs good routes. Again, he almost runs like a running back. But he runs good routes too. Enjoys working through traffic with and without the ball. He's very
Hmm.
comfortable, like a basketball player. He is very, very comfortable moving with the ball and without it, and in traffic. Love that. He's good versus man. I mentioned he's great versus zone, but he's good versus man. When he runs a drag route across the middle, I haven't seen people hanging with him. He's just
Yep.
boogieing through
Hmm.
space there. They struggle to stay with him, so I like that. A good hands. I'm not going to say elite hands, but good soft hands. He'll catch those passes. Good footwork, tough catches. He handled kick returns. Oddly enough, in 24, he handled kick returns and did an outstanding job of it. Um, but somebody else was handling it in 23, and he was on the team in 23. But
Hmm.
he handled kick returns in 24, so he's got that asset. I didn't see him breaking a lot of tackles. I will say, that's one reason he seemed to love space so much. Sitting in the zones, he catches the ball, he can scoot, but I didn't
Hmm.
see him breaking as many tackles as maybe I would like to see from kind of a shorter, maybe not chunky, but chunkier side of him. I didn't see him breaking a whole lot of tackles. It just wasn't his real thing. Um, the vertical. This guy's 5'11", but the vertical jump this guy has. I saw it in 24. I've seen it in 25. I'm not going to guarantee he's got the highest vertical, but dang it, this vertical, he can go up and get balls from people that are 2, 3, 4 inches taller than him.
Hmm.
I think it's an insane vertical jump. Again, I'm not talking a Michael Jordan 40-inch vertical, right? But he's got an insane vertical jump, and that really makes him a lot taller. He's not going to play on the outside of the NFL, but that vertical jump that he's got, he's a red zone weapon too. He can convert these into touchdowns as well. So man, there's a lot to like here. I'm still not quite sure where I would draft him. I will give you my opinion on that here in a minute, but I really like Mekhi Lemon. He has really scooted his way up here the more I've thought about him.
Yeah, I like Lemon. Different from these other guys for sure. Um, and maybe it's USC. Maybe he's got the hair coming out of the helmet, but doesn't he make you think of a Puka Nakua? Or like, just can't
Yeah.
can't you see him in the Rams offense, just running
Oh
around like,
gosh.
um,
Ooh.
quick twitch, solid in build, good yak threat. Again, because of the way I agree on the break tackles, but it's because he just runs into guys, and because he has that just
No.
like straight line, I'm putting my head down. He's not afraid to be tackled, so he's gonna
Right.
create yak for himself that way. Um, Good blocker, somewhere between Tyson and Tate. I think Tate is actually a little bit better of a blocker, but I
Okay.
think Lemon probably has a little more potential as a more stout player. I mean, they're both listed at 120, 195, but you said it like Lemon is a stockier build, and I think overall like a more twitched up version of Tate. I think
Yeah.
Tate has the willingness, but I think Lemon probably has a little more. Not that Lemon doesn't have the willingness. I just think Tate is a little bit better at it right now. I have a couple blocking reps in the clip reel here in a minute also. And he does have snappy routes. I've watched again. I tried to watch more of the 25 tape on these guys, and then I'll work my way back. Um, and yeah, he's running a lot of flanker, like borderline gadgety stuff with that just
Yes.
physicality and that speed and what his role is right now.
Yep.
Um, but his few downfield routes, like some simple like slants and outs, like he's got. You mentioned it. This is gonna be a slot player. He's 60-40 slot to outside already in college, so like that number's probably going to go up in the NFL. I think he can do some outside stuff. Again, that would be more of your
Right.
Z flanker type on screens and drags and some a few
Uh-huh.
deep shots, but nothing. He's not your X. He's not running your big boy routes or anything like that necessarily. But here's a couple of the plays. So we've got Lemon in motion here for a pass that's basically ends up being an end around. It's like a swing pass out here. He gets one block. He breaks the tag. He more stiff arm runs past the guy again. Just that physicality gets him past the defender on that play. He gets upfield for a big gain. That It's body control for him. You mentioned with the vert. You mentioned it with the way he
Yeah.
finds space. just really good body control. So when you're running that fast and you're trying to beat a blocker, a lot of guys are going to step out of bounds on that. He's able to absorb a little contact and get
Yeah.
upfield on that play. Here he works to the ball on this wide receiver screen, works through the ball. He doesn't wait for it. He works through the ball. He gets another good block. Um, he does fight through again. He fights through contact. Look, he gets out of the way. Boom, fights through. He takes a hit. He just starts rumbling down, but he's going to fall forward. And then we have two plays in a row where it's a simple running back screen up the middle on both these plays. But you're going to see Lemon come from this side both times, and he's just going to Tasmanian Devil run at a safety. He's going to find the safety and just go get him. He's like, I don't know exactly where the running back is. Boom, I'm going to get you. Again, he takes a little contact. He goes backwards on that one. This next block is a little bit cleaner for him, but he knows his assignment. He is running. He is sprinting. Oh, he lays that guy out on that one. I like that. Um, he knows his assignment on those blocks and he's looking for it, and he's trying to take some hits off. He's going to get there. I really like Lemon as well. I would think again before we get into like how do you stack guys, who's really going to be looking for receivers at this point in the draft, yada yada. This is a
Yeah.
guy, especially with that what I said about John Ladard. Like this is a guy that in today's NFL just works and is a value, and I would be taking early for sure. But for you, the rest of the way this season, how do you see his draft stock kind of moving, and where do you kind of have him?
So right now, I think I've got him in early second round. I would like to have this guy top 40 picks is about where I'm at right now. So is there anything that he can do to get himself into the first round? You know, that Matthew Golden type of stuff. I just don't think he's got that elite level speed. It's very good acceleration. It's very good speed. I'm just not sure he can do anything from a speed standpoint to get himself up there. Um, Continuing to make more of those tough catches where people are guarding him and he's going up and taking the ball away from them. That can help. Um, you did mention the body control and I didn't. That's a very good point. You're not going to arm tackle this guy, right? You're not going to trip him up too easy, and
Hmm.
he's
Hmm.
he's good on the boundary catches. So I like all of that. Um, it, I'm not sure. I am thinking about him late first round. I'm just not sure there's a whole lot he can do about that other than just who else is available at this point in the draft, right? So it wouldn't surprise me for him to go late first. Right now, it feels like a top 40 pick is about where I would like to have him. But I really like Lemon, man. That being a friend of a quarterback thing and producing and I really like what he's putting out here. I don't, again, I don't really think he can touch Tyson or Tate. I think that's two different talent
Hmm.
levels.
Yeah.
But boy, once we get past Tyson and Tate, Lemon's producing, and he's not the only receiver out there in SoCal. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, you look at last year's class. All right, so obviously you have Travis Hunter doing what he did at 2, Tet McMillan going 8, Ibuka going 19. Those were guys that we knew were first rounders. Matthew Golden is the late riser, goes 21 or 23, I should say. Jaden Higgins 34, guy we both really liked. Not the same guys. Higgins is an X,
Right.
and Lemon we said slot Z, but like similar, like where you can kind of see where their talent level could take them. Um, and Lemon is a little more twitchy, I would say. And he's, we got Higgins at 34, and then you got Luther Burden going 39, who all the talent in the world, maybe wear a little bit more of the play style of a Lemon, but
Hmm.
not as consistent from a production standpoint and everything. So right in that range where you're at currently, I can see. And if I mean, his production right now, Lemons is freaking tearing it up. So if he
Right.
ends the year as, top receiver in the Big Ten, top one of the top guys statistically in the nation. Like,
Yeah.
we could see that guy get into the first round. I think for sure. Um, if I was a little more organized, I might have these teammates going back to back, but we're not going to do that here. We're going to get to the other USC receiver in a little while. Let's hit Denzel Boston out of Washington. A little bit of background here. Boston is a 6'4", 200-pound plus receiver from Washington out of Puyallup, Washington. Boston went to Emerald Ridge High School and was a three-star recruit. He redshirted as a freshman and is currently a redshirt junior. Ben, what do you think about Denzel Boston from Washington?
I'll try not to take us long on some of these guys because some of those guys at the top were worth talking about, and these other guys are too. But we'll try not to belabor the point. So Denzel Boston, I like, but I don't love. And
Hmm.
part of that may even be the fact of his last name. I really, well, I was expecting to turn on the tape and just be amazed and impressed, and I wasn't amazed or impressed, right? So his last name may have had a part of my emotion right there. But there are just other guys I do like too in the second round. So here's the little bit of notes on Denzel Boston. I'm not gonna put them all out here. He is big, physical. He is big and physical. You see that with the 6'4". He looks every bit of that. The 220 I think you mentioned. He
Hmm.
looks like that. He's not always going to dominate physically, but there is plenty of game film of him doing just exactly that, dominating physically. Plenty of it. So, he can go up and take a ball away. He can outbody people. He doesn't always do that. There are games where that seems to kind of disappear for some reason, but he there is plenty of tape of him doing that, just being big and physical. He is polished. I expected that. Anytime you've got the son of an NFLer, you expect the polish. So the polish is there. I do like that. And the hands are good. I don't think the hands are brilliant, but the hands are good. I don't know that to me, they're not as strong as Carnell Tate's hands, and they're not that kind of snatchy hands that our friend Austin likes to talk about, but it's just good, solid hands. So I like that. Um, there are some people that like his speed, and it is there. And it's so confusing because he returns punts too. He's got some speed and he's got some shake, got some agility. I just don't think it consistently pops on tape from one game to the next, and so that confuses me a little bit. There are games and plays where it's there. I just don't see him consistently beating people with speed and agility, and so that was a bit of a not a disappointment. That was a little bit confusing for me to know that he's a punter. He's even got a punt return touchdown this year, right? So he's got that ability. It just doesn't seem like it consistently happens. And if it's not consistently happening at college level, I don't consistently expect it to happen at the NFL level, right? And then the last couple of things here. Well, I mentioned hands okay, agility okay. I'm going to stop it right there because the point I want to get to is I haven't seen anything out of him that makes me want him in the first round. But
Hmm.
this guy looks like a guy who could be in the NFL for a very long time and produce and be a pretty good receiver. I don't look at him and see all pro at all. I look at him and think, well, maybe he can catch a couple of Pro Bowls and he's just a really good receiver for a long time at the NFL level. And that's that to me, that's a second round guy. So that's about where I am on him right now. I was curious to see where you came out on him at, because I know even a few months ago before the season started, there were people that loved him to death and had
Hmm.
him, high in the first round on some of these mocks. So that's where I'm at on him.
Yeah, and you're mentioning the mocks, and I try to base this group that we talk about on who are the kind of names when the listeners are gonna go
Right.
to mock draft database and see, so they're not
Yep.
just it's not a nameless face or faceless name that you're looking at on there. It is okay. I've heard a little bit about this, and Boston's right there. This is the line though that it's like starts to hit the 30s on mock draft
Mhm.
database or and other places like that. And this is the line where it starts to be not as consensus on, if you look at like the McShays or the Bruglers or some other guys, is like first
Mhm.
round or top 30, top 40, whatever. Starting right here with Boston. Those first three we mentioned, Tate and Tyson and even Lemon are like fairly consistent. Yeah, Boston, I'm with you. I wasn't super high. Um, Big bodied guy, good natural hands catcher. Like it's smooth and like you said, it's good hands. Like it totally workable. He's not the fastest or the quickest, but he uses his size to, again, take up space. Like just these guys
Right.
knowing how to use space
Yeah.
is such a, like it's a novel thing almost, it feels like it was all about creating space for so long, right? With your own
Right.
physicality and your own athleticism. And now
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, just like kind of take what's here, manipulate these
Yeah.
guys. That what you were talking about earlier, like before it was all man and now it's all zone. Like you're just able to kind of move the zones around one way or another and get into, I'm like dancing out here. This is great. Um, so he's not the fastest, quickest, but he uses his size to take up space. And you like he doesn't just take the space that's there, but he uses that size to create more space pretty naturally. Not a very aggressive or impactful blocker. And that was disappointing for me when I see a guy that's 6'4" and over
Yeah.
200 pounds. Like
Yeah.
And that happens more and more. These guys kind of grow up just like not really having to do all that. And again, all wide receiver one syndrome of like, I don't have to be a blocker. Not saying he's not doing these things because then there is an instance, and I have a clip of it again, similar to Tyson when he's asked to do it, when it's a high leverage play, when it's can be potentially impactful, he will do it. So let's get into some of these plays that I have here. First play, he runs a nice slant here with a quick break for a big guy to get plenty of space. That's
Yeah.
good and good natural hands over the middle again. Here, classic, you got to have one of these end zone fade, just kind of big bodies the corner, kind of shoves him a little bit, gets him down on the ground. Here, this ends up being an incomplete pass. Um, bad throw by the quarterback, or maybe Boston's depth was wrong again. Maybe some of that attention to detail. Who knows? I don't
Yeah.
know. I will never get on here or get on Twitter and pretend to know what the play call was. So I don't know if the quarterback missed or if
Yeah.
Boston missed the route. What I care about here is Boston runs a nice route. He's 6'4", he's over 200 pounds. You said it. He can do these quick, twitchy things. Watch him. I'm playing this play again. Watch him here at the top. Boom. That's a good setup. That's a good break out of an out route for a guy that's
Yeah.
6'4", and that's downfield too. So like he has momentum carrying him. That's not part of his acceleration. And on the third step, he's going, that's like 10, 12 steps and 15 yards downfield. He's moving and he's getting that snap. That's nice, even though that ends up being incomplete. And then here's a cool play. So goal line, fourth quarter, Boston's up here at the top. Okay. Watch him. He's going to point out, boom. He's pointing at this linebacker here to the offensive lineman. He's communicating. He's saying, hey, we need to block this guy. We're going to run this play. We got a little handoff out of the shotgun to the running back. Boston not only is clearing the corner, just puts him on his shoulder and is just piggybacking this corner out of the way. He's taking out this linebacker. And you asked me, is that if that's important? That linebacker was going for the gap that the running back ends up taking,
Right.
and they get a touchdown out of it. So there were so many plays where I'm watching this game, and this was the Michigan game last year. So many plays where he's like not involved in blocking whatsoever. But in an important moment, he's showing good IQ, he's showing communication. And I don't know if it was a situation where he's pointing and he realizes nobody's hearing him or no one's going to get he says, I'll just take it. And he just blocks two guys and he opens up that gap that running back needs. So cool play by him. There's Box Score Network again. Click the wrong button, but hey, Box Score Network, check that out. So again, yeah, those moments and like, hey, if he's just a big bodied, high IQ player for a long time, like that's pretty good. But again, you're talking day two to me at that point.
I'm in the same boat, and I won't spend a long time here on Boston, but I do like him. I think he's got a long NFL career ahead of him. I think he's an asset to any team. It's just in terms of when I look at him, am I coveting him? Do I need him? Am I really excited about just grabbing this guy before everybody else does? It's just not there for me. But this guy would be an asset to most receiver rooms and could even upgrade a few. Just don't expect him to be the dominant force, right? He's going to add to what you do in several different ways, and I need that. I like that. I just don't see the dominant factor here.
I want to look into early in his Washington career. You mentioned punt returns last year, or punt returns now. I want to look into the rest of his special team stuff because if there's not a lot of physicality as a blocker, that makes me think like this guy's not necessarily going to be a gunner or chasing down kicks.
Right. Right.
But if he has done that and just now he's not really doing that physicality because he's wide receiver one,
Hmm.
because he sat behind a lot of good wide receivers for a long time, and he stayed at Washington. He stayed there for a long time. He's a Richard Jr. And he just waited his turn. So like, was he just doing his thing on special teams too? And if he was, is this like the next Mac Hollins, where he's just gonna cut his teeth for like 5, 6 years on special teams,
Yeah.
really lean into that? Can he just like lean into his size and be super physical? And then when he gets his opportunity, like end up actually being a decent number three receiver. We'll see if something like that could happen for him. But TBD on Boston.
Right.
All right. Here's the guy I want to talk about, Ben. I know I've said all that stuff about like you just using leverage and high IQ and sitting in space. You don't need to create space anymore. But I'll tell you what, when you're watching film at 11 p.m., 12 a.m. sort of thing, and you're watching a bunch of those guys, it's a little dreary. Then you turn on Antonio Williams out of Clemson.
Right.
This guy don't wait for nothing.
Yeah.
This guy makes everything for himself. Uh, just freaking jack in the box, man. This guy was so much fun to watch. Redshirt junior out of Clemson, 5'11", 190. Redshirted during his sophomore year due to injury. He attended Dutch Fork High School in Irmo, South Carolina, where he was a four-star recruit. 247 had him as their third overall player in the state, sixth overall wide receiver, and 61st overall player in the nation in 2022. Um, I like Antonio Williams, and ultimately, maybe this is one of those guys that like doesn't work out for one reason or another in the NFL, like the play style or whatever. I have a couple small things that as I was putting these clips together, looking back on, I was like, I don't actually, I'm a little worried about that. That's one of my pet peeves for some of the
Right.
stuff he does. But man, I like a lot of what he does and a lot of what he brings. So what do you think about Antonio Williams?
I've got a love-hate relationship with Antonio Williams, okay? I'll just be very honest. There are some things I love. It's hard not to love watching him play. My gosh. And then there's some things at the NFL level. I'm like, man, is those two or three things going to be a problem?
Hmm.
And so where does that make me want him? But let me read the notes, and then we'll kind of hash out what we're trying to get out of him. Okay, so solid receiver, just as a generic, right? Just a solid receiver, good hands
Hmm.
and good routes. So
Hmm.
check, check, check. All right, this guy is made to be a receiver. He was born to be a receiver in football, and he runs good routes and he's got good hands. Um, Tough, physical, not easy to tackle, good rack. And the guy's a psycho, okay? This guy's a psycho. He is crazy, which is probably why you love him so darn much.
I do love
You talk
crazy.
about
That
yes,
is a big thing for me. A lot, and at any position, just show me crazy, and
and
I'll
I'm
be
telling you,
interested.
who wouldn't want this guy on their football team? Um, he'll go up and catch passes that a defensive back should probably be grabbing. He can beat you downfield. He can run the post routes and grab those. Um, you talk about a guy that's aggressive. You mentioned not waiting for anything. He can create a lot of separation at times. You can tell a big difference in the Clemson offense when he's not on the field. You talk about a guy, I think he's injured right now. Talk about a guy that produced big time last year. They look for him. In a crowded receiver room full of talent, they're looking for him. Uh, Quarterback's favorite, Klubnik down there. Dang it. And good run after the catch. It's not easy to tackle him. Um, he seems to love spaces though. So he really seems to love his space. He doesn't seem to love the crowded areas. He seems to like to be in spaces as well for the most part. So I love all that. I love all that. That's a lot to love right there. The where I'm struggling is first of all the guy's 5'11", right? So automatically it's going to tug me down just a little bit. I'm like, man, I wish this guy was 6'2" or 6'3". And you combine that attitude and that fierce warrior mentality, boy, it would be very different. He's 5'11". And then I'm looking for the vertical jump. And there is some vertical to him, but a lot of that seems to be there's a decent vertical. It seems to be effort plus vertical. Whereas when I look at Makai Lemon, it seems like he's got this insane vertical jump to make up for
Hmm.
his height, right? So that's a bit of a problem. The height and then the vertical jump isn't insane. And then I'm looking at the speed, and there's plenty of speed there, but it's not elite. It's I don't see him getting burning defensive backs deep. It's just like they're with him and he's ripping the ball away from them. It is frequently what I saw. So, you combine all these things together and the fact that he doesn't seem to want to play the slot, he's always outside. And he's going to be an outside receiver at the NFL level and he can handle it. But then you're like, well, if he's not burner speed deep and he doesn't have a great vertical jump and he's only 5'11", where do I put him at? Because I love this attitude and he's got talent. At the moment, I think I'm sitting somewhere around mid second, late second round is kind of where I'm at on this guy. It's probably going to slide because what's going to happen is if I need a big receiver, I'm not going to draft him. If I need a
Hmm.
fast receiver, I'm not going to draft him. If I need a zone killer, it's probably not going to be him. If I need a guy who is great at just working the slot across the field, it's probably not going to be him. And I think he's just naturally going to fall for me, even though I really love him. So that's where I'm at. I, you might. I know you love him and I love him. I'm still not sure if I'm going to grab him top 40 or 50.
You're completely wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I I get the I get the height, weight, speed feedback for the way he plays, right? Because he's not playing like those other guys where he's looking for leverage. He's playing like a guy that has all those elite traits. Now,
Yeah.
I watched last year's Georgia game for him, and awesome game. And there was a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
working in tight spaces for that game. There was a lot of like being pressed and having to create. And he's doing that against Georgia, which is like as close to the NFL stuff that you need to be,
It is.
or that
Yeah.
you can get in college. Um, and let's see. Overall, I'll just go through some. Overall, excellent route runner, foot fire, sets up defenders, good snaps and timing. Uh, Very good hands at the sideline in traffic, comfortable hands catcher. Uh, Yak threat, solid build, can absorb contact, looks to get upfield. He's like a slightly more twitched up version of what Jordan Tyson does, but if like it just feels that it's not as smooth. It feels a little more frantic. Um, there was a play. That reminded me of a Tyson play that I was thinking about. Anyways, uh, there was a play here. We'll go through the plays in a second, but he is just constantly doing that like run up on the defender's toes thing and just making stuff out. So let's go through some of these plays as I ramble about this guy. Um, so these first two plays are going to be about kind of getting downfield. So here he has a good release to get a step, and then he fights through contact to get back to the outside. Kind of talked about this earlier with a guy like Tate. He's going to work his way to the inside, and then he makes a nice tough catch over the shoulder, falling out of bounds. Here
Yeah.
he's at the top of the field. Um, he has a nice little out route, right? Boom, good. He's already got space, but then he cuts up field, breaks a tackle, falls forward through another tackle. Here he's at the bottom. Boom, sets up a nice little dig, stop, starts, boom, gets up field. Here he's working from the slot as the number three from the left. And then he does, here's an instance where he just finds some open space and he lets the defender bump him a little bit. I want to play that one again because that's kind of what we've been talking about that we like. So there's an opportunity where we can kind of give him some love. So he gets here. He's right here in the middle of the field at the Aflac logo. He takes that bump from the safety, and that's just sending him where he wants to go in the middle of the field. It gets the defender on his back hip, and he's able to get a nice kind of a dig, kind of an over route
Yeah.
there for a big gain. Here, he's going to work back to the ball on a curl, but again, boom, strong snap. He's got space. He catches that again out of frame. That's up over his head, off to the side. He does a nice job there. And then you can't see the whole thing on this next play, but that's a slant that's extremely covered. That guy is plastered all over him. He's going to the ground, and he makes that play. So he's making the hard plays. He's doing it from all over the field. You mentioned his like snap distribution. Last year he was 50-50 slot outside. He hasn't been very healthy this year, which is like part of the like whole Z 5'10", 185, and he's playing this physically.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
they've actually had him back in the slot a good bit in a couple of the games this year. So like maybe that is going to end up being like what he can do, and he's just a really twitched up slot guy at the NFL level. Um, Here's my one bugaboo. On all of those yak plays that I mentioned and showed in the clips, he does go backwards first. And that's like,
Yeah.
as a guy that was rooting for Deontay Johnson for a long time, and
Yeah.
we just saw who did this. Was it the Sunday Night Football game? No, it was last week. It was some primetime game recently. I forget who it was. Someone took a step backwards and didn't get the first down. Um,
I
but
think
that's
I
just
saw it
like,
Monday night. Yes.
was it Monday night? Was it somebody on there?
I saw somebody do
Was
it
was it
recently
Hollywood
on
Brown
primetime.
or Xavier Worthy maybe? It was one of those guys.
It may
Anyways,
have been Hollywood Brown. Yeah.
you catch that ball, and instead of going immediately upfield,
Right.
taking that step back because you're trying to create room, then he does a lot of that. And that's something where if he starts trying to do that in the NFL, if he starts losing 3 or 4 yards every single play, because yeah, he's not the most, you don't have to be the most elite athlete to make the catch. But if you then start trying to do the A plus level athlete things for Yak, but you're a minus athlete, B plus athlete, if you start getting yourself into trouble losing first downs, you start losing snaps, you start losing playing time, rapport with the quarterback, and it goes on and on. I think this is a first round talent, but I think it's going to be the ancillary stuff around him that maybe would keep him out of the first round. But if that's the case, man, if you get this guy in the second round and you need a slot receiver or you need a number two on the outside, like I like a lot of what this guy does for sure.
You're in the majority. There's a lot of people that really like this guy. And to be honest, if you tell me that we can put him to slot, then I like him a lot better. I think one reason probably that he's playing slot more is that they got these really two talented beasts of wide receivers named
Mm,
Wesco and Moore,
hmm
who are going to be probably in the 27 draft. Those guys are animals right there, so they can handle all the outside stuff. If you
Okay.
tell me he's moving the slot, I all of a sudden like him a lot better. I all those worries bother me out there at the big wide receiver spot in the NFL, which he can handle, but I like him a lot better in the slot.
You don't want him to be your X, and you're losing his value if he's your like flanker on like digs and cross. You're getting some of the nice stuff on crossers, but having him run those slants and digs and hour outs over the middle of the field as a slot, I think would be a good spot. All right, so you're around somewhere day two, maybe trying to get in top 50.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm probably top 40 because again that back it up scares me. Um, I really don't like that, man. I really don't like that. It was bummed me out. I saved all those clips, right? I'm clipping those as I'm watching because they're really excited. And then when I'm putting them into the video, I'm like, wait, he's going backwards there. Wait, he went backwards again. Oh, he went backwards again. And I started to get a little nervous, but there's a lot of what I like there.
Bothers me way more at the NFL level too. I'm
Yeah.
like, dang it, every yard is valuable. Quit trying to show everybody that you can catch a 40-yarder. We just needed the first down there. Fall
And this,
forward, please.
especially with how often we're going for it on fourth down. Like
Yes.
if you can get a fourth and one in today's world in 2025,
Right,
there's a 50-50 chance you're going for that, and then there's a 50-50 chance you get it. Maybe better than that.
right.
10 years ago, it was kind of like, well, fourth and one doesn't do anything for you. So it's either going to be fourth and seven or it's going to be a first down. So like that's probably
Yeah.
where all that started. But now it's like, no, man, get those yards. Like take that. Um, all right. So we talked about five wide receivers. You're chuckling because you know what's next. We got to talk about it. I guess a couple running backs. Um, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I don't have a first round running back in this draft. It's just not gonna happen. But there is a guy, Jeremiah Love, who I do like. I do. He is a nice, respectable, solid running back who has some fun tape. Jeremiah Love is a true. I say that in the very first clip is an 100-yard touchdown run from the Indiana game last year. Jeremiah Love is a true junior out of Notre Dame, University City, Missouri. He attended Christian Brothers College High School, where he was a four-star recruit. 6 foot, 215 pounds. Love was the fifth ranked running back in his high school class and top 100 player in the country. Ben, running back Jeremiah Love. Is he or is
I,
he not a first rounder? Start there.
yes, I love Love. I wrote more notes on him than on any player I've ever written. Are you ready for it?
Oh my God, no, not a chance. But I guess go for it.
All right, here we go.
I
I'll get
did
right
clip
to it.
together like 7 plays. I think he has the most plays because there are some fun runs in here.
Okay. All right. Smooth runner, very smooth. I cannot say that enough. Smooth, smooth, smooth. Okay. Athletic. Not just athletic, he is incredibly athletic. He hurdles people, not just once or twice. There are multiple clips last year and this year of him hurdling grown men with just fantastic athleticism. Not the spin around thing that Saquon Barkley did, but he's getting as high as Saquon did. Okay. Multiple times. I mean, legit. Okay. Finds tiny holes. So I like that. He has a beautiful long cut, putting him into open fields. It's hard to describe that, but it's a very smooth long cut that seems to put
Mm,
him into open field. Okay. Also has lots of tiny nuanced cuts working through traffic. You can see that when he's working through traffic, he's moving and he's got these little nuanced cuts that allow him to get through. I mentioned the tiny holes thing. He's good at that. He has an extra gear, and it is a really fast gear that he goes into once he sees open daylight. I don't think his burst through the hole is as good as some other guys. Not that
Hmm.
explosion
Hmm.
through the hole, but once he's there,
Yep.
he's at second level. He's got this extra smooth gear, just like a little rocket. Okay, he can really hit that extra gear. That's important. That can take it to the house. That's very dangerous. That is good. Good vision. Patiently and smoothly finding the opening. And he's just as smooth and patient following screen blocks downfield. So it's not unusual, right, to see guys get really antsy. He is waiting. He's got the good vision. He will find the hole, and even downfield when they're setting up screens for him, he's waiting on the blockers out there. So really love the vision. Really love the patience. He's not physically dominant. Don't think of him that way. He's not a physically dominant, run you over, push down kind of guy, but he does not go down easy. Do not arm tackle this guy. Do not try to trip him up. He will run right through it. He will maintain balance. He will keep going. So, he's not going to run right over you, but you're not going to be able to arm tackle and trip him up. He will run through all of that. So that's important. Really enjoy that. Has a consistently good stiff arm. Saw that consistently through many games. He can use that stiff arm out there in open field on people. His legs rarely stop moving. That's important, but he's not dancing around like a lot of these running backs. He's not just kind of shake and bake dancing. It's productive steps getting him to where he needs to go, and then he's through. All right. So the footwork is very good there. Um, Good hands on pitches, oddly enough, and no, who uses this anymore? But Notre Dame threw him a few pitches like the old Nebraska stuff from the '90s, man, and he's got good hands on catching those. So these little just flick outs to give him a chance to go catch a few yards out there on the edge because you see the defense isn't lined up there. It's right there. Really like that. Sometimes even lines up in the slot. He's valuable as a receiving option. Okay, so you'll see him. He's got the athleticism to line up in the slot and work a few routes. It's a limited route tree, right? He's a running back. It's not going to be crazy, but he can beat you that way too. While the technique isn't great, he's a very physical blocker. He really seems to take pride in it. There is more than one clip of him blowing people up. Now he doesn't maintain the block. Offensive linemen will mock him, but he really seems to take pride in
Hmm.
hitting people and just blowing them up. And he's very physical at that. I really, really enjoyed that. Now, his 25 numbers, his 25 tape are significantly down from
Yeah.
24. The 24 tape is a thing of beauty. Oh my gosh. The 25 tape is not. But I really do feel like, and I expected that, defenses are keying on this guy. They are locked in to shutting him down. And in fact, you watch the Miami tape of this year, and Miami's got a heck of a defense full of NFL prospects.
Hmm.
They really limited him. They really plugged every hole, just did not give him a chance to play, work. Notre Dame probably shouldn't even been handing the ball off that often once they saw what Miami was going to do to it. So, my final note on Jeremiah Love is, and I really do love him, if you have a sucky offensive line, do not draft this guy. It's not going to work. He can't save your sucky offensive line that you haven't worked on building for the past 4 or 5 years. Forget about it. But if you've got an average, decent offensive line, this guy will bonus up your offensive line. He's that good. So I really, really like him. And that's what I've got on Jeremiah Love.
If it's good O line, are you doing first round?
Yes, matter of fact, I've got him. I don't have him top 10, but I've got him anything after that. So
Interesting. All right. Listen, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Through the quarter of the season, Ashton Genty is on the worst run offense in the NFL. And Ashton Genty is one of the most fun prospects I have watched at any position. Um, the most electric prospects I've watched. And I watch Love and I see a lot of good. I see a lot of good. I don't see anything that screams special. Now, I don't know if this running back class is going to be the way last year's was, where it was like you can get a guy in the fourth round, you can get a guy in the sixth round, you can get a guy undrafted, with how many NFL type prospects there were running back last year. But there's no like defining trait or traits for me on Love. And it's early, but these are the things that you would see right away for the way I think about drafting running back. So here's what I see. Good burst out of the line of scrimmage. Good burst out in space as well. I'll highlight that on that big 100-yard touchdown run.
yeah.
Doesn't have a lot of greatness. The 100-yard touchdown run. Doesn't lose steam, as evident by that long touchdown run. He maintains that speed all the way through the play. Good hands. There's a couple catches in the film reel I have. Willing blocker and pass pro. I'm glad you have seen a lot of it. I saw one or two plays. Um, Above all, he's just hard to bring down. He's a tough runner. He'll use the stiff arm. He's got balance. He's usually falling forward. He's got the hurdle. I've got a play like that in here. Um, I'm trying to think of when day two, you need to plug someone in. You've gotten established just about everything else. Like you've got your offense set up, you've got an offensive line, you've got weapons to create some space, and you just need a guy to complement the rest of the offense. Yeah, this would be good. This isn't even for me one of those like you set everything up and then you drop him in, he could be special. I don't know. I I hate when people say stuff like this. It sounds so generic, but like I don't think I see special. I don't think I see game breaking from a pass catching standpoint or break tackle standpoint or make guys miss standpoint. I just see like a good player. And when I get a good player at running back, I'm going to push that down a little bit more. So, anyways, um, here are those clips. Here's a 100-yard touchdown run. As after I say all that, this is quite a long play because it's obviously a long way to go. But good burst through the hole. Boom, another burst past the linebacker. Boom, another burst past the safety. So he just keeps going. Like he doesn't run out of speed. And you can see all of these corners and DBs on that play that start behind him and start running after he does. They lose their speed before he does. He maintains that speed for 100 yards. It is really
Yeah.
cool. Here's a tough run out of shotgun. He has to go backwards because there's a defender right there. He breaks that tackle. There's a hurdle. Boom. And then he got hit coming down. But all of that just to get back to the line of scrimmage. Tough runner. Here's another tough run that he has. Um, this time he's going to get positive yards, though. Breaks a tackle. Breaks a tackle. Stiff arm in the dirt. Do love that. Scoots past two, three more guys. That's a positive run. That's like a 10-yard run right there when a guy met him 5 yards in the backfield. And that's just tough running. That's not Bijan, like he just like matrixed his way out of it and like broke everybody's ankles. That's just tough running right there, and I do love that. He's a compact runner. Um, Here we've got a nice run, just like facing the fan, falling forward up the middle through the line of scrimmage. Here we're gonna get two nice catches. He's not running crazy routes. You're not gonna split him out wide necessarily. You're not gonna have him run a real route tree. But these are nice checkdowns where he's got good, confident hands. He works into space, and he gets positive yards after as well. He's working upfield after he gets those catches, so he's very natural. And then here's the play. It might have been accidental, but it's play action. He runs right into a defensive tackle, helps make an assist on a block. So again, there's a lot of good, but there's not any like special for me right now. And when it's that at running back, that's gonna be more of a day two for me. But I mean, I love hearing what you're saying. So when you're thinking about like a guy like Marion Hampton last year, where would you say Love stacks up to a Hampton for you?
I've got him better than Hampton. I'm going to
Okay.
mention about four different guys here. So real quick, the Aston Genty thing, I don't
Mhm.
see where he's got that juice, that electric burst and explosiveness that Jonty has, either receiving or running. I just don't see that top end. Oh my gosh, that Jonty was showing. So that's why I had Jonty high last year. I've got Level just a little bit farther down than that. But he's just so different. He's very different than Jonty,
Mhm.
so I don't see that. I've got him better than Hampton. I think he's a way better runner between the tackles than Hampton. Hampton's probably just as fast on the outside edges, but
Mhm.
I think he's a way better runner in between the tackles, and I think he's a better receiver too, um, versus Hampton. So, and Hampton's a pretty good receiver too. But so I don't. I've got him somewhere between Jonty and Hampton. His style, though, and so if you're in the audience, please don't get upset. I'm not suggesting he is this player, but stylistically, it's that understated, smooth, natural style that starts to bring up the images of like a Walter Payton, because Payton was very athletic, very smooth, great
Mhm.
vision, great patience. Jeremiah Love is not your modern day running back. He's an old school
Mhm.
guy like that. He's got that just natural, smooth flow. It's very understated, and he's got the great vision and the great patience, and that's a really great runner in the making there. Again, not for a crappy offensive line, but even an average offensive line, he should be brilliant anywhere between the tackles. I really like the, and he's a good receiving option too. So that's the imagery there. The patience is that reminds me of Emmitt Smith, not the choppy style of Emmitt Smith, but that patience vision thing Jeremiah Love's got that. So that's an old school style with the right offense. Yeah, I'm locked in on him in the top 20 pretty easy.
What is this? Oh, that's NCAA. I wanna think. You mentioned like old school, right? Like who are the top receivers these days or running backs these days? Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he does the receiving stuff. He's not, James Cook, Kyron does a bit of the pass game. Obviously, guys like McCaffrey and Bijan are big in the pass game, but obviously he's not as big as a Henry. He's not quite the thumper of a Montgomery. Might have to think about Jonathan Taylor stylistically, and his game has changed over time and with the Colts. But I don't know. I don't know that. You know me, man. You know where I'm at. You
Right.
get a UDFA in there, and you'll be all right, unless
We'll
it's
be
like a
just fine.
truly special player. Like that's a conversation for later day. That's Jeremiah Love. He's a tough runner. He's old school. He can go between tackles. He's gonna break tackles. He's gonna hurl guys. He can catch. He can block a little bit. Yada yada yada. Well, as we go, we'll have more of the whole running back draft value conversation. This is me reminding myself not to go off on a tangent at the hour 20 mark already before we get to the sixth player. Let's get to our first tight end of the evening.
Hmm.
Kenyon Sadiq is a 6'3", 245-pound junior out of Oregon. He's from Idaho Falls, Idaho, attended Skyline High School, where he was a four-star recruit, number one overall player in the state, and top 80 player in the country. Got a couple plays of Sadiq here. Ben, what do you think about Kenyon Sadiq?
I really like him. I'll talk to you about a tight end problem I have during our second part of this discussion, but here we go. He's fast. For tight end, he is very, very fast. I really like the speed that he puts out there on tape. The Ducks like to get him the ball on tunnel screens, jet sweep some, but tunnel screens a lot. They really enjoy doing that. They have that weird offensive system, and he's really good at this. He is really good at catching the ball on tunnel screens and just taking off with three or four blockers in tow, right? He's athletic. There's more than one film of him jumping over people.
Hmm.
There are several pieces of film of him jumping over people. So I've got a fast guy who's athletic and can operate in space. I like all of that. The production is low, both in 24 and early in 25. It's just a lot lower than what you would maybe expect. Matter of fact, in 2024, he was only on the field for 350 snaps. And I know he was behind Terrence Ferguson, who also went to the NFL, but in the Ducks offense, there would be plenty of opportunities to get him on the field and get him the ball. But again, like I said earlier, tight ends in the college game, it's wild, man. A lot of these teams have a very talented tight end. We saw it with the kid from LSU last year. They just didn't even get in the ball all that much. It's just the way college football kind of works. So, just because they're not getting a lot of production doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a very good player. He plays everywhere, very versatile. Good gosh, you
Hmm.
can play
Hmm.
him outside. You can put him in the slot. You can put him. You're not going to see him a lot at the tight end spot. The
Yeah.
inline thing. He ain't going to do a bunch of that. But you can play him at the halfback role, the running back role, whatever. You can move him all over the field. So I love that versatility. That's really cool. Um, not a traditional tight end. Don't look for seam routes and in cuts and tough blocks from this guy. All right, that's not your guy here. Okay, think very modern, very versatile, very fast, very flexible, all of that good stuff. Right. Really like that. With the right offensive coordinator, I love this guy. This guy could just really take off if you get him in the right system with the right guy. He could also go completely to waste if you try to put him in certain kind of offenses. Just not going to see very much out of him. So I could see this guy going either way here. Um, Not a lot of blocking tape, but what I saw, it seems like he was willing and able. He's getting the
Hmm.
job done. But again, yeah, they left him off the field for a lot of these tough running plays. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
so it's not like they're counting on him for that, but what I saw him blocking, I thought it was pretty efficient. I was satisfied with what I got out of him on that. So anyway, that's Kenyon Sadiq.
Week, and I meant to look. I was just looking at his overall stats, but I wanted to look game by game because I remember it was a week one or week two of the college football season this year, and everyone was like, "Oh, Kenyon Sadiq, he's going off. He's having like this tight end one." week one, Montana State, or maybe that was week zero technically. One catch, 20 yards, touchdown. Oklahoma
Correct.
State, two catches, 40 yards.
Hmm.
Northwestern, two catches, 35 yards.
Yep.
Oregon State, four catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. That's
Mhm.
nice. Penn State, obviously, six catches, 49 yards. Like the volume there of doing that. But yeah, this isn't even like your quote unquote move tight end, your F tight end where you're like, oh, like in the slot running routes. This right now, unfortunately, feels like your classic like H back, like high end H back kind of guy. Now listen, Harold Finn's having a decent start to his career, right? And like Jonnu Smith has had a very good career in the NFL doing those sorts of things. I will say, let me pull up the plays here just because you mentioned a couple of these things. And he can put these things on tape. He has. I watched what game did I have here? Northwestern game this year. Yeah, it's Northwestern, whatever. Um, this first play is that tunnel screen. He gets a screen, he runs. This is exactly what I expected, right? When I saw kind of his profile and just from what I
Yeah.
know about him. But here, he's gonna work from this slot right here, number two from the right side. And there's a seamer out there, Ben. There's a seamer out there. He sets up that corner, that poor white cornerback. He sets him up. Easy touchdown. But hey, he worked up the seam. He did it. He went up and got that ball. Here, he's lined up in the backfield. He's lined up in the backfield right here, I think. Let me check. Is that him? Yep. Boom. There he is. Pow. And he goes and he makes a block. You said it. Willing, tenacious, fairly able to block. Like he and like I saw a couple of his blocks out in space and a couple blocks um at the line of scrimmage. I actually think he's a better blocker at the line of scrimmage because he's just going at it with his physicality.
Right.
Doesn't have much technique and he's not very effective. And at 245, yeah, that play strength, if you're going up against 280 pounders, like you're just not going to maintain blocks, but he will do it. He's a lot like just like uh, he's bigger than a running back, but he's a lot like just a running back who's just trying to survive back there when they're doing it. Like, hey, just make contact, throw a block, slow the guy down. He's doing that and he's willing to do it. So there's the intentions of a classic inline guy, which I love and appreciate, and there's the talent and the versatility of the move guy, but there's also the build of the H back guy. So there's a lot going on here. Um, it's nothing that I'm getting super excited about where I'm like, you draft this tight end in the first round and they're immediately going to be a real part of your offense. Like, I hope we don't hear a Tyler Warren comparison come draft season
Yeah.
because hey,
Yeah.
oh, he is versatile and like you can line him up and move him around and yak and these things that it's just not that like the downfield different routes being run, big catch radius. Like I haven't seen that so far. The production obviously isn't there. Like you said, he was, Warren was Penn State's offense for years. Like this is
Mhm.
Sadiq's kind of first run just at being tight end one, and like he's effective and he's doing stuff. But I think there's a limit to what you're at least getting right away. And we know tight ends take a while to develop. It would take the right system. It would take the right coach. And maybe he could do it. And look, 6'3", 245 and athletic, like, does he just become a suit like a does he become a move tight end, a slot receiver at some point? And I think that was a I'm trying to remember. Elijah Royal was a little bit bigger. He might have been like 6'4", 250, but there's something here. But I don't know if this is a first round guy. I mean, on mock draft database right now, he's at like 18. He's got a lot of hype
Right. Yeah,
from
he does.
on Saturdays when people are talking. I'm glad to hear that you're not you're at least on this one we're a little more in line. No pun
Yeah,
intended.
it would not bother me if somebody drafts him in the first round. I personally am not super eager to do that for a couple of quick reasons here. In the right system, say with Mike McDaniel, wherever he offensive coordinates next year, with the 49ers, with their, ingenuity, there's a handful of guys, right, that could just, I think, instantly make this guy produce something, and then after 2 or 3 years, have him doing a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, just all kinds of crazy stuff. But that's not for everybody. The speed and the athleticism, I think, is what's got people kind of turned on here. Come draft time,
Hmm.
I think that's going to pull back down a little bit. One reason for that is, and my dilemma is, and I mentioned this, there are so many tight ends now that are fast and athletic. They're big, they're fast, they're athletic. They're everywhere in college football now. So It's not that people don't want them. That's not what's going to drive them down the boards. It's not that they're unimportant. It is there's just so many of them, you know. So once that supply and demand thing, there's just plenty of them. It's like, well, I can get a fast athletic guy in the second or third round now. You know, I don't
Yeah.
have to have the number one most glamorous, fast and athletic guy. I can get one in the second and third round. So that's going to drive this back down. You know, there are other guys that we could talk about, but that's the idea here. So for me personally, though I do like him, and in certain systems I would love him, I'm going to pull back down off of that. I'm probably looking at somewhere in the top 50. I think is probably where I'll land here.
Yeah, the like Harold Fannin was a much more productive version of this coming out. Now Fannin had that H-back build, but was essentially a slot receiver. So this is even a little bit more of a different case. But even Fannin, for all the productivity and clear, like he just looked like a wide receiver playing out there, was still what,
Yeah.
third round pick. Um, so yeah, yeah, you're hoping for top 50, right scheme, right system, all of that. I think a good player overall. I think he's going to be a good player, but
Mhm.
where ultimately is it going to take you for this type of player is what's TBD. Okay, that's it for all the guys we have film clips on. So yes, we're 90 minutes in, and we still have several names we want to hit here. So we'll just go kind of go back and forth on a couple of these guys. Ben, up next, Eric Singleton out of Auburn. He's a true junior via Georgia Tech at Auburn right now, 5'10", 180 pounds. He's from Douglasville, Georgia, where he attended Alexander High School. He was a three-star recruit coming out, and this is his first year at Auburn after 2 years as being a full-time starter for the Yellow Jackets. And he was the number one overall wide receiver transfer, fifth overall transfer player in NCAA football last winter. What do you think about Eric Singleton?
Here it comes. This guy is fast. Oh my gosh, this
Hmm.
guy is fast, 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 and that really to me is his whole game. It is that speed. If he didn't have the speed, I wouldn't be interested at all. I mean, just not at all. But the speed is there, and he's built his game off of that. Okay, he's little though. He's 5'10".
Yeah.
So again, where does the speed cross over with that height? Okay, he looks little, even on the field. You look at him. I'm not sure he's 5'10". I'll be honest with you. You look at him
Mm,
out there on the field. And again, I'm not knocking people who are small. I'm small. I'm 5'8". You know, I don't fit in anywhere, right? You know, but this is the NFL we're talking about. Okay, he does not look 5'10" to me. He looks even shorter than that. I've seen it listed everywhere. I just don't think he's that tall. Okay, so does a lot of boundary comeback stuff. Again, I don't see a lot of route tree stuff out of him. I see where he's shooting up the boundary. They're scared to death. He's going to beat them deep, and all of a sudden he just jerks it off. You
mm,
know, so there's an 8 yard gain right there. So I like that. That's cool. I just didn't see a lot of route tree stuff. He can work
yep,
his way downfield on post routes and can really go get it if the ball has some air under it. So the two things that he can do downfield, he's not going to win the jump balls. Forget about it. He doesn't
yep,
have the vert. He doesn't have the height. Can't do it, but he can beat you deep. Oh my gosh, on just a straight fly route. And then if you think, I'll handle that, well, here he goes on a post route. Oh my gosh, he can go all the way from one hash mark to the other boundary in a heartbeat. And it's hard to outthrow him. They can just sling it out there and some open cow pasture somewhere, he will run and get it. So I do like that. That's important. That's not nothing. I really do like that. Shifty and works well in traffic with the ball. So they get him the ball in jet sweeps a lot, and on those little tiny crossing routes, like literally 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. So it's jet sweeps and 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, and they just get him the ball quick and see what he can do with it really quick. So I like that. He's a good kick returner. I love that. I love his focus on the football. He is always dialed in. This guy is
mm.
never not dialed in. You talk about a guy who was always locked into the football field, the play, and the ball. He is always dialed in. My problem with him is I'm not totally sure how much production I can get out of him at the NFL level, right? He is great for those little crossing routes and the jet sweeps. He's great for a quick comeback route, and he's great for an occasional downfield, rip the top off the defense, burn. I'm just not sure how productive he's going to be. There's not a lot of route tree there. He's not going to create a ton of separation other than people scared of beating him deep. So I don't know in zones how much he's going to do necessarily. He's not going to win battles at the boundary. He's not going to win jump balls. So that's what's got me a little backed off of him there. But there is a lot to love here with Eric Singleton, too.
Yeah, I'd like to see how he could progress. It's funny. He at Georgia Tech was more of an outside guy, just based on talent. But so far at Auburn, he's played mostly in the slot.
Mhm.
So what is he ultimately? He's probably a slot guy at the NFL level, but can he take some of those skills and do some more interesting stuff from the slot? We'll see. When I was watching, so I watched the Notre Dame game from last year. So again, at this is at Georgia Tech when he's one of their top guys, outside guy, and yeah, a lot of motions, a lot of gadget stuff, a lot of screens.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get the ball in his hands. So what is that in the NFL when you're that size? I do think he's a little more twitchy than who were we talking about before when we said this? Like Antonio Williams. He might. I think he's got a little more like true like long speed. So like if you really get him
Yeah.
going, like what or get him on a screen, can he bust one every now and again? Um, I don't know if he's quite as talented, but this might be this year's Luther Burden. Like you just like screens and slot fades. Not quite the Noel, where you could see that Christian Kirk like can really do real route stuff, but he's doing it from the slot, but he's tough and undersized. A little more gadgety, but I think there's something there. So we'll see where Singleton ultimately ends up. I'd like to see him try to develop more of the downfield stuff a bit to be more well-rounded, but day late day or not late day three, late day two, third round kind of guy. I think right now for me.
I'm in the same boat. I'm just curious
Okay,
to see if that speed, because I do think it's a devastating speed straight line. I'm curious to see if somebody grabs that in the second round, but for me, it's
true.
third round.
Yeah, if he shows up with like a 4.28 or 4.30 or something
Right.
like that, we
Right.
we see every year that gets pushed up.
Yeah.
Jacoby Lane, USC, true junior. He attended Red Mountain High School in Mesa, Arizona, where he was a four-star recruit. At 6'4", 200 pounds, Lane was the fifth overall player in Arizona and 32nd ranked wide receiver in the nation. Ben, what do you think about Jacoby Lane?
This is my guy. This is my sweetheart. Okay. This is the
Heck
one.
yeah.
This is the one.
Heck yeah.
I I wasn't sure how you would feel. This is the one guy that nobody else seems to be on that I'm in love with. Okay.
Oh, baby. We're right
Okay.
there. We're right there.
Okay. All right. We can have a man crush here for a minute. Okay.
This is our Jaden
Um.
Higgins from last year.
Yes.
This is our
Yeah.
Jaden Higgins.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. Okay. So.
Took us a while to
Sorry,
get to Jaden
everybody.
Higgins. We got to Jacoby Lane very quickly this year. This is great.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, big plays. This guy can make big plays. Not quite so much run after the catch like some of these other guys we're talking about, but just big plays. He can definitely tough catches. You talk about tough catches, man. Ripping the ball away from people, catching the ball on the boundary at the back of the end zone, at the front of the end zone. This guy will make some tough, I mean, WWE type catches, man. I mean, this guy will rip it away. I really like him. He's physical. He's not as thick as Denzel Boston or even the Malachi Fields guy from Notre Dame. He's not that. He's kind of skinny actually, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
physical. He eats it up. This guy
Yep.
loves to be physical. Man, dang it. Um, he can take contact and hits and still finish plays. I seen him take so many daggum hits and still finish a play. And I'm like, I don't know how he did that because he doesn't have a lot of body mass. But boy, he seems to eat it up. Um, Wins jump balls. I mean, this guy will rip it away. He's going to win more than his 50-50 jump balls. He's going to be up there. I don't know if he's in not Megatron category, but he's going to be up there. All right, he can rip the balls
Mm-hmm.
away. I think he's a very athletic. Not as
Mm-hmm.
athletic as say his teammate Makai Lemon or
Right.
uh, 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 Tyson.
Williams or
Yeah,
Tyson. Mm-hmm.
he's athletic. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is athletic. So I like that. Insane hands, circus catches. I've already mentioned that, but there it is again. Mostly outside production, but he can work the middle too. This is your
Mm-hmm.
outside guy, but he is capable
Yes.
of working the middle. So that to me that's important because once they start
Yes.
figuring out what to do with you on the outside, can you move inside? He can. He's not slot, but he can work
Mm-hmm.
the inside of the field. So that's another
Mm-hmm.
dimension. I saw that. To me that was so important to just see that. Um, Devastating in the red zone. In the red zone, he will absolutely rip your heart out and eat it. Okay, he is devastating in the red zone. So I love that. Um, he can improve his routes. His routes aren't the greatest. He kind of almost feels like he doesn't need to worry about it because he's just going to box you out and rip the ball away
Mm-hmm.
from you.
Mm-hmm.
I could appreciate some route improvement here. Real quick, I think it's very good speed, but not elite. Now I know people who think he's
Hmm.
slow, so then the discussion gets to be real quick here. Do we have a T. Higgins situation where he's speed slow but plays fast? Do
Hmm.
we have ourselves an AJ Brown situation where he's not got good list speed, but he still plays very physical and very well? Or do we have the kid from Arkansas a couple of seasons ago that got drafted by Tennessee Titans and just
Traylon Burks.
not there. Right. Do we
Yep.
have a Treylon Burks situation? That's a valid conversation, but
Hmm.
I still, man, I still like this guy. And then, he's a smart player. This guy gets it.
Hmm.
This guy is a smart player. You just watch him move around, smart player, and then he has those long strides, very long strides. So that's it. I really like this guy.
Yeah, I really like Lane also. In last year's class, we had, it's funny when you, the more you do this and the more you think about and read this stuff and the more access we have to stuff, and we think about like these X receivers, and we always want to think of like the best receivers, right? The best X
Right.
receivers. But
Right.
that's not always what it is, right? It's like Romeo Dobbs for the Packers is their X receiver. Just like who's the big guy that's going to be on the outside, that can command attention, that can run every kind of route, and like win on his own, essentially. Now, that doesn't mean win in the sense of like 150 yards and two touchdowns every game, but win
Right.
in the sense that like on this route they're gonna get, they can run a post, they can run an out, they can run a dig, and they can do all of those things at the timing and with the gravity of the field that you need. And so last year when we're watching and doing these evaluations, and we get to Jaden Higgins, when we're like, well, he's not the fastest, but he's fast. He's
Right.
not the most talented, but he's talented,
Hmm.
and he can play on the outside. He can run every single route. He's got good hands,
Yeah.
and he can make those plays. And it's not as flashy as a Ted McMillan who we loved or a Travis Hunter who we loved,
Right.
but like he can do all of those things. So this is an X receiver, and you know, I think of that scale, and then to a guy like Trey Harris, who's also an X receiver,
Right.
but like a lot of what he was doing at Ole Miss was just like catching screens and like getting 8 yards going forward, and like yeah, maybe that's technically more of your flanker build, but like that was a perfect fit for Harbaugh, and that draft pick made sense. Um, Lane is somewhere in between those two guys for me. And Trey Harris, I didn't love individually, but I loved him going to Harbaugh and that offense. Although it is what it is now. But theoretically, that's where I was at. I really like Jacoby Lane, true X. I really like his movement in and out of breaks. Like you said, he has some snap, but it's not elite. It's not super
Right.
athletic, but mostly just good at well timed and using up space really well, creating leverage. He's got good hands. He could do it over the shoulder. He could pluck from over the middle of the field on some of those in
Yeah.
breaking stuff. Heck of a blocker. Very willing, but also just very technically sound and actually good at it.
Right.
He's doing a lot of those blocks for Lemon on those screenplays,
Yeah. He
and
is.
it's really, really effective. Um, Clear
Good point.
number two receiver blocker for me in this class as of right now. We'll get into the other guys later and watching their tape, but for me, it's like Tate, it's him, and then it's probably Lemon at that point. Um, yeah, I really like everything I'm seeing from Jacoby Lane. You probably won't end up being a first rounder unless like there's more athleticism than we know, and that's what kind of
Right.
pushes him up. But this is a clear top 40 guy for me, and a guy I'm gonna really like all the way through the process.
I'm coveting this guy. I want him first round. I would grab him first round, but I don't think he's probably going to end up first round, like you said. And honestly, if my staff, if I were sitting there as a GM and my staff looked at him and said, "Hey, we've got these speed concerns," I would be willing to back off and grab him early second round. Okay, that's where I would be at on him. I don't project him as a consistent all pro guy, but I think he's got that ceiling. When I see that physical dominance at times, I think he's got that ceiling to be able to be that good. But the speed thing, well, I won't get into it, but the speed thing could be enough to create problems for him at the NFL level, right? If he's not physically dominant, then
Hmm.
he doesn't have the speed to make up for that, right? So I would be willing to be backed off of that into a second round pick, but I really do like him. I covet him. I would love to have him in the first round is where I'm at on him.
He's a guy that would be perfect for if of your starting three receivers. He can be your X, but you would love if he was your third best receiver. You would love if you had like an elite guy in the slot, an elite guy
Yeah.
flanking, and then he's just like running the downfield routes and he's blocking. That would be perfect. All right, we have so many more names to get to. I've done film work on, Ben has watched all of these guys at some point. I've watched two more of these guys, but we're just going to bucket all of these guys, and Ben's going to tell me who he really likes to talk about.
Okay.
Because these next two, it's a running back and another tight end. Like they didn't really stand out to me. So there's Nick Singleton from Penn State, who is a really high level recruit, but he's a senior now, and he's a big, powerful back. You got Max Clare, the Purdue transfer to Ohio State, who nice move tight end. I like the way he uses space and decent hands, but like nothing too crazy for me there. And then several guys that are on that like right around second round bubble that I just wanted to mention their names. Chris Brazel out of Tennessee is a really fast riser right now. He was a guy that was like mid day three at the start of the year. He is shooting up the mocks. Chris Bell, Louisville senior, just like really steady, consistent type guy. Nick Harbor, 5-star recruit, 6'5", 235 pounds, blazing speed. Zachariah Branch, transfer to Georgia, high-level recruit, undersized, not a lot of production. Kevin Concepcion, Texas A&M, another, he was NC State transfer, very productive at NC State, moves up a level. Jonah Coleman, another running back out of Washington, 5'9", 225 pounds. And then your guy, Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt, former quarterback, college recruited to Texas A&M to play quarterback, became a tight end over the course of his time there and then at New Mexico State. And he's now in his second year at Vanderbilt as a fifth-year graduate player. Ben, two or three guys that you kind of want to highlight from that group.
I want to highlight 6 or 7 of them, but I won't do
I know
that.
you do.
Okay. So I won't even run through any notes here. This is just straight off the top of my head because I have piles of notes, but we're running out of time here. Okay. So Max Clare, to me, uh, I like the speed. I like the hands. I like the open field stuff, but it's a second round pick thing for me. I just didn't see anything that made me want him first round because again, boy, we got so many of these athletic, versatile, tight ends now. Eli Stowers the same way.
Hmm.
Stowers is not as fast, but he's just as flexible. My gosh, Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt. So I've got another tight end here who can, excuse me, flex out and do all kinds of cool stuff. So
Hmm.
I got several of these guys. I don't need to grab one first round. They all can do slightly different things, but they're all versatile and fast. So that's cool. So second round guys for me, right? Chris Bell is a guy who for me is a second round guy. Um, Go check out. Okay, if you haven't and you're in the audience, go check out his run after the catch stuff. It is fun. He will beat you deep. Boy, I don't know that he's got an expanded game, but you talk about a guy that will run after the catch and just beat you with stuff. Fun, 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 and consistently does it. Does it very consistently. Nick Harbor is not producing enough, probably to be even in the first 2 rounds, but coming out of South Carolina, this is a guy that's got excellent height. I think it's 6'4", but he has documented track level speed. I mean, it
Hmm.
is way up there. So, NFL guys would love to just add that into the mix, see if he turns into anything. Really, really love that. So, I think there's one other guy you maybe mentioned that I lost track of there.
Branch, Brazel, Concepcion. The running backs were Singleton from Penn State,
Okay,
Coleman from
Singleton.
Washington. Okay,
Singleton from
cool.
Penn State. That's the final guy, real quick here. His 24 tape still wasn't as good as what his recruitment
Right.
excitement buzz was, but the 24 tape is really good. For a running
Yep.
back, go check it out. The 24 tape is really good. 25 tape is not. Nobody seems
Okay.
to know why. The 25 tape is ugly. Okay. So,
That Penn
whereas
State
I might have
offense is
considered
just
him,
officially
yeah,
broken, I think. It's just done.
I might have considered him late first round. The running is that good in 24, as well as the receiving. He's a legit receiving option.
Hmm. Hmm.
Legit.
Yep. 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 Yep.
It's disappeared in 25.
Yeah, to go through because I did actually watch him to go through my notes. Patient runner, sets up his blocks well, stays square while waiting for a hole, keeps him balanced and ready for acceleration as well as take on contact. Good burst for his size. I mentioned it 5'10", 225. You like that? Good hands. Used as a check down guy, or he was split out wide for screens. So that's pretty cool to do at that size. Just big body and he falls forward. So yeah, Singleton, nice runner for sure. Whenever he gets drafted and dropped into a place, he'll ultimately end up being just as effective as Jeremiah Love will be, as long as the situations are equal. All right, that was awesome, Ben. This group is so hard to do because first off, we're doing three positions, but also I think it speaks to this class. Like there was a very a thinner line between who the first round and second round guys are. I think even the mocks are having a hard time figuring out what they think at this
Right.
point. It's really Tyson is going like top 15. Tate is going like top 25, like securely in the first round.
Yeah.
Love is usually going like top 25. Like people are just kind of he's the top running back, so he's getting
Yeah.
locked into the first round. Sadiq is getting locked in the first round, and then everybody else. So we have a total of 12 wide receivers plus three, 18 names on here. And everybody aside from those top four, so additional 14 guys, are going somewhere between 35 and 75. And I think that speaks to the position, what teams think of that now, but also this class specifically. It's just a lot of, it's still very muddled. It's not as clear cut. Obviously, it's only October, so that's going to be the case. But yeah, we'll sort through it. We'll keep doing this. We'll do our film work on these guys in the background while we talk about. We'll be moving to the defenders here next time Ben is here, and then watch out when once we get to the playoffs of the NFL, the off season, draft season, especially of course. Ben and I and the rest of the Box Score Network will be heavy on draft, filling you in on these guys, coming back to these guys, talking about it. Um, Ben, quick plug for what you got going on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, because we plugged you last night actually when we were doing
Oh,
some draft prospects. So we plugged
look at
you
you,
and said, "Hey, go check that out too."
my guy.
Uh, Pro Football Enterprises, we're doing draft picks over there. We're trying to set them up individually. So if you just want to see one guy for 10
hmm
minutes, hear about one guy. We're not doing clips. Hear about one guy for 10 minutes, you can go in and do that. So that's Pro Football Enterprises on YouTube.
Pro Football Enterprises, Box Score Network. Check out all the pods. Make sure again, waiver wire editions. You're getting those recommendations from 2Ps. You can do that on their feed on Tuesday mornings or Box Score Network on YouTube. You can get that as well. They usually do that in about 10 to 15 minutes. So if you want a quick down and dirty on who you should pick up on the waiver wire, head over there. In the meantime, stay over here. We've got some fun stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks. NFL season fully in swing. We will continue getting you ready for the draft as well. Comment, subscribe, like all that stuff if you're here on audio. As always, we appreciate you. We appreciate Ben for being back. Everyone, we will talk to you soon. Have fun and be safe out there.